We're going to start with the summary of tapping points explained, basically. So the first point that we tap on is the side of the hand, which also affects our small intestine. And I'm going to try and summarize this, but the reason we tap on the start just the side of the hand and we don't go back to it is because this actually helps us come out of our frozen or stuck feelings. So sometimes if we want to tap and we don't know what to tap on or we don't know what to say, tapping here really helps. It enhances self-expression. So if we don't know what to say or what we're going to be saying later on, tapping here will just help us with that as well. It increases clarity and it accelerates transformation. So whatever transformation we're hoping for when we tap, tapping here first will accelerate that transformation. So this side of the hand also taps into the small intestine. So it helps with symptoms of imbalance. If we have poor circulation, it will help with that. It helps with better blood flow, better breathing. But you're going to see later on that all the tapping points really help with better blood flow and better breathing. If you have a lot of cold hands and cold legs, usually you're holding on to anxiety. And if you have a lot of hot hands and hot legs, you're holding on to anger and fear. So tapping this releases anxiety and fear as well. Then we got the inner eyebrow. So right over here, this taps into the bladder as well. So tapping here affects both. It affects emotional stagnation. So if we have emotions that are stuck inside of us that we can't feel or we feel very numb, tapping here is a great spot. It also restores self-compassion. So we start feeling more, we feel our emotions more, and we feel self-compassion. So we have compassion for the emotions that we were harboring, compassion for the emotions that we were afraid to feel. Then it also taps into our bladder. And so what the bladder does is removes liquid waste from the body. Similarly, it removes stuck emotions in the body. So tapping here, you're going to notice better bathroom habits. If you have issues with UTI or peeing or anything, tapping here will help that. It just releases everything. It also taps into if you have stiff neck, stiff shoulders, headaches, and back pain, tapping here is a great spot. Then we got side of the eye over here. So literally the side of the eye, not our for our temple. So coming here, this side of the eye also taps into our gallbladder. And tapping here brings things into view. So if you have issues with indecisiveness, if you're having a hard time deciding what to do, deciding even what you feel, tapping here helps with that. And it taps into our gallbladder. So our gallbladder stores and expels bile produced by liver to aid digestion. So in a way, it aids digestion in our body, and it also aids digestions with our emotions. So if you're having a hard time digesting the emotions that you were so indecisive, you didn't know what to feel or what to do, it helps you digest your final act. Like you decide, okay, I think I'm going towards anger. I think it's anger that I feel rather than fear. It will help you digest that as well. So it will help you feel, it will help you digest what you feel. It also helps support healthy decision making. So because you were indecisive and you tap this and that's helping that, it will just help you have better decision making as well. You'll be more confident with the decisions you make. Then we've got under the eye over here. So not where the eye bags are, literally underneath that, where the bone is. Under the eye, which also taps into our stomach. This literally digests emotional experiences as well. So one of the reasons why there's so many overlapping functions when we tap is because it's all connected. But it's just a bit more focused when we tap here. So it helps, tapping under the eye helps us integrate emotional experiences from the past to the present in a manner that supports growth. So what that means is whatever happened to us in the past, we start remembering it. Like if we've had traumatic experiences, it comes back to us, but in a way that feels safe. and in a way that helps us support growth. So rather than being afraid of what has happened to us in the past, we are now able to learn from it. If something happened in a certain situation, let's say a dark black alley, instead of being afraid of being that dark black alley, we are now aware, okay, maybe this is not a safe space for me. Maybe now I will learn to take a different route. So we don't get stuck in our fear. We learn from it instead. It also helps release grief. Then we've got under the eye, which also taps into our stomach. So if you feel a lot of worry, nervousness, or lack of acceptance, whether it's lack of acceptance for yourself, for your life, or even for your emotions, tapping here will help with that. Similarly, it also digests emotional experiences. What happens when food is being digested in our body? It takes the nutrients out and releases what we don't need. So similarly, we take the nutrients or the lessons from the experiences we've had and we release what we don't need. Like fear. Sometimes there are certain fears that we just no longer need anymore. Maybe at one point we needed it, but when we don't, we release it. So tapping here helps with that. Then we've got under the nose over here, or top of the lip. So this reclaims parts of ourselves we have lost. It brings back lost memories in a safe way and restores wholeness to self. When we can't remember certain things about ourselves, we don't feel whole, like there are some parts missing. So, but sometimes it can be scary to remember everything that has happened to us, especially if we've gone through a lot of trauma. So tapping here helps us remember things, but again, in a very safe way, where we rather learn from it instead of be paralyzed from it. Then we've got under the nose, under the nose, top of the lip. This also taps into our governing vessel. Now the governing vessel is from here, top of the head, all the way down to our butt. So every issue that we may have physically from here all the way down there, it taps into that and releases any pain, any discomfort, and also emotionally. So what this governing vessel does is it moves yang energy throughout the body. Now, yang energy is active and heated. It is the activity of doing. So when we decide to take action, when we decide to move, that is our yang energy being activated. And tapping here helps with that yang energy to move and be activated. It also treats problems such as back problems, arthritis, memory loss, dizziness, runny nose, headache, and fever. Then we got under the mouth or chin, which also taps into the conception vessel. So under the mouth, this resolves fear. When we have a lot of fear, we can tap into this. And one thing I like to remind all of us is we don't always have to tap everything in order. Let's say sometimes if you're just in a lot of fear and you just want to tap into this one spot here without saying anything, just tapping into it, it will help release that fear that sometimes feels like it paralyzes us. This also integrates emotional trauma, which means we can go back to our trauma and see what happened without being brought back into the trauma. It allows our spirit and mind to flow freely. It allows the spirit and mind to flow freely, meaning we easily go back into the past and remember what happened, learn from it. We can make decisions in the present moment, and we can plan for the future. Sometimes our trauma or our pain or our fears doesn't allow us to plan for the future because we're afraid, well, what if that thing happens again? And so this tapping here will help us actually plan for the future, make better decisions in the present, and learn from the past, which is what we've been doing this whole time as well. This is just a bit more focused. So this taps into the conception vessel. So that's from here, the chin, all the way down to our private part. And this supports creativity. And I know it says conception vessel, but this is good for men and women too, because we all have male and female energy existing in all of us. So under the mouth or chin taps into conception vessel, which supports creativity. Now, you need your creativity to be able to think about the future. When we think about the future, we use our imagination. And we need that imagination and creativity to go hand in hand to develop and fulfill our goals. To make goals, we literally have to think about a future that does not exist yet. So we need our creativity. So tapping here helps with that. And it also is able to help us say yes or no clearly. Now, I know a lot of people have problems, including me, with being very confident in a yes or no answer. You know, sometimes we may be people pleasers, sometimes we may be afraid to hurt somebody. So here helps us say no or yes when we need to, confidently, lovingly, and safely. And then we got the collarbone. So you can tap the collarbone either here, where the ribbon lies of a necktie, or look for your collarbone, just go 1 inch below that. What I like to do is I like to tap this whole thing. Some people like to tap like this as well, as long as the tapping motion is happening. So under the collarbone, I like to call this the cup of coffee. We have so much energy in our body that we don't actually need caffeine to have energy. And actually, caffeine doesn't have any energy because it doesn't have any calories. So what caffeine does is it tricks our mind into thinking that we are in a panic mode. And when we're in a panic mode, we're like, I have to hurry up, I have to do things. And that's why a lot of people get jittery when they drink caffeine. But if you're somebody who doesn't want or need caffeine, but you want that boost of energy, tapping here will help with that. It helps with that energy, boosted energy, and actually helps us know what to do with it. Instead of feeling like, I have all this energy and I don't know what to do, tapping here will tell you, okay, will help you understand, I think this is what I need to focus on, this is what I need to do, and it will help you do it. It also resolves irritability and anxiety. Irritability and anxiety are fast emotions. They're like shaking inside of us, just like when we have that caffeine. And so it releases that energy that we don't need, like that anxiety that gets stuck within us and turns into this fast emotion. It releases that. And it helps us, again, use our energy for the better. So under the collarbone also taps into our kidney. Our kidney stores sexual energy. So aside from having better energy, tapping here, if you've ever had sexual trauma, tapping here will help release that pain of that sexual trauma. It also helps with our willpower and determination issues. So we're a bit more determined to do things, like with that energy, it helps us be more determined to do what we need to do. And it helps us cope with hard emotions, specifically if you have gone through sexual trauma, or if you're afraid of sex, or if you're afraid of intimacy. This is a great spot to tap. Then we got side of the chest over here, and this connects us to source. Source is, so I like to say that we breathe in this invisible air, this oxygen that keeps us alive, this oxygen that every living being needs. It helps us feel connected to source. It helps us feel connected to everybody that's breathing in that same invisible air that literally keeps us alive. We feel more abundant with nature. We feel connected to nature. We feel one with nature, and we feel one with that source that gave us life. It also eliminates stagnant energy. So we have so much energy inside of us that we have reserve energy that we tapped here, and we have stagnant energy that we don't even need anymore. And so we release that. And tapping into this also taps into our spleen. And our spleen regulates blood flow. So if you have a lot of diarrhea or constipation, if you have lack of appetite, brain fog, or absent-mindedness, tapping here will help with that, and it will regulate your blood flow. Then we've got back of the hand. So tapping here back of the hand helps with a lot of grief, loneliness, and hard, strong emotions that is painful, mostly depression, grief, and loneliness. So tapping here helps with that. And last, we've got top of the head tapping. So this is also called the crown, and this also taps into our governing vessel, The governing vessel that we talked about a while ago, that goes from the top of the head all the way down to our butt. So tapping here restores order to spirit and summons spiritual resources. We have access to our wisdom, to the wisdom of our ancestors, and also strengthens our intuition. When we have those gut feelings, most likely those gut feelings, that intuition, that little voice at the back of our head that's constantly trying to take care of us, comes from some knowledge or some wisdom. And so it helps us trust ourselves more. So this is great for self-trust and being able to hear that intuition better and actually following that intuition. It also clears up delusions. So sometimes our delusion stops us from hearing our own selves, from our own wisdom that we do have. So tapping here helps with that. And last, again, governing vessel. So the Chinese name is Bai Hai, which translates to 100 meetings, which literally says treats 100 diseases. So it's so powerful to tap into this part that if you have any disease from here all the way down to your body, your whole torso, your shoulders, your arms, all the way down to your hips and your butt, any pain, any discomfort, any physical sensations or emotional pain that we have stuck around here, helps with that. So tapping here. We also gain a strong emotional connection to the mind, which just means we're connected to our emotions more. We understand better what we're feeling. We understand better what we're thinking and where our thoughts are actually coming from. And it also helps us to relieve depression and manic behaviors. So people who have manic behaviors like bipolar disease or any difficulties with our emotions, really, tapping here helps with that. And so those were the tapping points explained.